What up, bro?
What's good, bro?
Man,
We're back at this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 4.
Digging more into
Yeah.
the past, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so just picking up where we left off, right? So last one was your college days.
Right.
And I think the last time I spoke about it too was like
Yeah.
end of college.
You were talking about, end of college and starting this new path.
Right. So now thinking about it, I came home, Pops was like, there's an opportunity here to be a teller at Citibank. And I was like, okay. You know, I really didn't have much of a reason not to do this.
Right.
And I felt like there was a reference here that was willing to, you know, give me the experience. And so that's what I did, man. I went to training in San Francisco for like 3 weeks. And then I was put on the teller line in Los Altos in Northern California.
Oh, cool.
So Los Altos is like a very like bougie, you know, spot. Like very bougie, very affluent wealth, you know, like old wealth. And so I would go in.
So tell me about this, like before the first day, like what were you thinking? Like, so you were, before this, you were in college, right?
Oh,
like
yeah. Let's add context. You're right. So yeah, I was in college. I just gotten a degree in political science.
Right.
I don't know what do you do? Like government work? Like that was never going to be me. And like, I felt like political science just actually helped me with a lot of reading comprehension. And being able to articulate. Right. Also think critically. I think that's a lot of what political science kind of focused in on, because there's like a bunch of like philosophy classes that will come at you. Right. Like, have you ever taken a philosophy course?
I have, and history and stuff.
History was good. History to me, yeah. So there was a lot of history courses, and that was awesome because like my one of the professors there, like he was narrating, no notes. It was like a movie. Like he was just talking. He would put a list of 10 words that like he was gonna go through, or 10 key phrases, whatever. But there was no projector. There was nothing. It was just his booming voice. And there's 200 kids in the class. Everyone's stone silent, and they're listening. And I was always up front, like first row, and I was taking notes diligently. Aced every single one of his exams. It was cool. Like that, I appreciated, because it felt very like. I think human history is very interesting, and like if you really, I don't think it should be told like in such depth in high school years, just because you don't really know about the world as much. You don't know how to make sense of it. Wow. And I think when you get into college, you've had like some experience, maybe voting, maybe you've had some experience with just learning about your family and your culture, and you've had some years, you know, where you're like, okay, there's like a level of identity. Now maybe when they talk about other people that were thousands and thousands of years ago, you can find some common threads to like hook you on. Right. But I did feel like I hated history in like high school and like middle school. It was the worst. But when it came to college, that course in particular, it was Chrysanthos, shout out.
And it's a huge skill to like engage an audience of like 200 kids. 200 like college kids, and not have any sort of disruption. Really, I never really heard any, and I remember those lectures because I went to every single one. So what was the skill of his? Like, what was his thing? Why did he attract your attention so much?
Public speaking, man. I think it was on full
used
display.
A lot of stories, or
well, he was narrating human history that had, so it was a lot of it was focused around like the Greek and Athenians and Romans and like sort of that European history, but he did it with such a like charisma, I'd say, and like the way that he pronounced words, and maybe it was the pacing and you know, the way that he spoke kind of to the back of the room, and it wasn't like he wasn't unsure, he didn't. There's a lot of stuff there that I feel like, you know, he makes it look easy, but like when you're put in front of that many kids,
it's difficult.
Like there's like 9.5 times out of 10, like they have some kind of aid that has like, you know, like some sort of like visual aid. Right. But yeah, this was just straight up storytelling. And I felt like that hooked me, and that like had me like writing notes and then understanding things. Man, what were we? Yeah. So this is, no. I was just going to say like what I liked about
this is good
political science. I love that. But like learning about human history and thinking critically and all of that stuff. But there's this other side, philosophy, which was just plain confusing. And there are certain times, so there's like modern philosophy. Have you heard about the trolley? there's one. So there's a trolley coming down the track, and it's about to fork, and you hold the switch, and on one track there's one person, on the other track there's 5 people.
Okay.
Now the way that it's, I believe the way that it's heading right now, 5 people would die, but if you flip the switch, that one person would die, and then the 5 people would be alive. Now at that point you're supposed to argue about what is morally permissible.
Right.
Good Lord. Like, this is just taxing for no reason, you know? Like, it felt like, and I get it, maybe they're trying to teach me, you know, like how to see both sides of something and how to articulate, you know, like reasons as to why you'd flip the switch, or why you'd be like, okay, I actually got there and it was like this beyond my control.
Right.
So like, if I just let it go and be on my way, that's what was there, you know, that's what was, you know. Or you got this other person that's like, nah, I'm there because whatever things aligned to bring me to this place to make this, you know, change.
Right.
Oh
this
my God.
Decision is all.
So you had to write all this stuff out, you know, in like essays. And so like those kinds of things were, that's still okay. But there was this other one, man, like was way more abstract about the meta and like what you see and then what's behind what you see and what's actually there. Yo, they lost me. I remember dropping that course within like the first 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So that was political science. So I graduate with those sorts of, you know, courses and that kind of like experience, education wise. But then Pops had this opportunity that he felt like he could, you know, get me into and get me some experience with. So I went through that and went through, you know, the application process and training, and I'm on the line now at Los Altos, and man, it was really tough to like stand behind the teller line in a branch that gets very low foot traffic, very low, and you watch the day just go by.
I see.
Like, you're in a suit, you know, you're in a nice environment, it's cozy, and this was towards the Christmas time that I got employed. So like there was like, you know, you would smell like chestnuts roasting outside, you know, and like there were carriage rides and stuff. So it's not a bad environment, you know, but it's like you're standing behind the line and you're just watching. And I guess maybe at 21, 22 years old, wherever I was at that time, like that's a very restless, you know what I mean, sort of spirit.
Yeah. And at the same time, did you also want to like do music?
So that's what I was about to, man, like, so to remind, like, about my whole, you know, come up is very music based, is very creation based, and like making mixtapes and being in the production process and like being around people that like do original and new exciting things. Handling money is actually one of the most mundane but like critical things, and it's like kind of the opposite of what I was like used to. So pacing wise, it was just the contrast was heavy. So yeah, like I definitely wanted it to continue with music, but when you're standing there for 8 hours out of the day, and then not to mention the commute. So I was living in San Jose, if you know, shout out San Jose. If you know Evergreen, which is the east side, I had to commute all the way to Los Altos, which is way more west, and it's just like across the valley entirely. And in the morning, those like 6:30, 7 a.m. like commutes, hour and a half easy, and then coming back at hour and a half, 2 hours normally. So you're stuck in traffic and you're just exhausted. Like you get home, you can like eat, you know, and then you can barely keep your eyes open for a TV show. By the time you have to be, you know, sleeping because you got to be up at 6 a.m. or 5:30 the next day to get ready to drive to work. Man, I lasted 2 months.
Oh, dang. Okay.
It was 2 months, and I remember my mom coming to see me to have lunch with me, like while I was on the clock. I remember my dad had come to see me while I was at lunch, like on the clock, asking me how I was going, and they could see it on my face, just like how depressed I was, and like just how like as much as, and mind you, like I was doing good. Like my manager, Cherry, shout out Cherry, she was telling my parents that like, yo, he is good, like he he hasn't come short on any sort. Whenever he closes, like he's not coming up short with like money and stuff. That's like their biggest concern as tellers, is like the misplaced money. And usually within the first month or two, somebody will be indicative of being responsible or irresponsible, you know. So like she was like, he has potential, like, you know, if you can get him to stay, because like within 6 to 8 months, if he like really understands the system, you can start moving up, you know. And bro, 8 months? You want me to continue? And that's a maybe, you know, depending on whatever else is going around. And I've realized, like, man, like my youth, my time that I have, like this energy, I know it's finite. Like I know that like when I'm gonna get to 27 beyond, I don't think I'm gonna like be looking at this as a 21, 22-year-old. I knew that life went by fast. Like I'm already you know, graduated from college, which felt like forever. And so like I kind of understood the pacing of life, and that like, you know, if you do keep your head down and you work, you will have things to show for it, but time will go by fast, like fast. And I felt like, man, those 2 months at the teller job, time was going in super slow speed. Excuse me. I wasn't understanding why I didn't feel like making songs anymore. You know, I just didn't feel like myself. So yeah, like I told mom and pops, like, this isn't working. I can't do this. Like, we need to call it on this. Shortly after, I got a job at the gym. It was called Club One, front desk representative, first face that people see when they come in.
Right. Okay.
So that was like, I think that may have lasted like 9 months ish, you know, and that was a way easier of a job, you know. And I got access to a gym, and like it was, you meet new people, you know, you got to actually talk to folks who had like, and this was again like one of the more bougier gyms. Like it was Club One in Santana Row. Have you been to Santana Row? Have you heard of it? Okay. No. Well, it's like a really small street, you know. You heard of Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. So in the Bay, in Santa Clara, I believe, Stevens Creek, there's this small street called Santana Row. Okay. And like, you know, it's all the designer stores, all the like high-end sort of you know, brands are, you know, they got their boutique locations there. That's where the gym was, on the 3rd floor. So you had a certain level of clientele, a lot of money, and having that kind of conversation, or having that kind of candid, you know, relationship, that like this person comes in regularly, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And if they see Saheer, you know, like at the desk, there's like a rapport that develops. And so you got to have great conversations and stuff. And like, do you know, I'm not sure if you've come across this tabla player. His name is Salar. I might. Nader. Sorry, bro. I don't mean to mess that up. Salar. He is an Afghani tabla player, percussionist, and I met him there. And he ended up collaborating with Raginder like 6 months, 8 months after I had a song with. So I was like noticing that, like, you know, like the scene is also like here. Like there's some musicians out here too. Then like that was something really special. That's something that just like I remembered about that job. But anyway, after that one, I went to after 9 months of that. I applied to it was a linguistics position at Apple. Okay. So, but it was through a contracting company. So this was, I'm sure the statute is up now on like, you know, keeping confidentiality or whatever. But yeah, we were helping Siri, you know. So like, you know, and that was about on and off, you know, for about 2 years. In the middle of those 2 years, I went to audio technology school. So this is around 2015 now. So I went through 2012, 2013, 2014 is when I started this the Apple position. Wow. And then in the middle of that, I remember my dad having a conversation with me about like what I wanted to do with my life and like really what it was. And I was like, this music thing is it. Like, this is what makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel whole. When I'm making it, when I'm creating it, I don't have a sense of past, present, or future. It's just now. And there's a level of, I think, refinement and introspection that comes with creating art that I really enjoyed. And I could do it with, you know, no one. It was just me and the computer. Granted, the computer's huge. Need that. Really need that. Logic Pro needed that. But if it was just myself and that laptop, I could, man.
So he sat you down somewhere? Or
so, was it in the living room and was like, okay, I see you're not quitting. I see that you've been doing this since 03, right? So now we're at 2015. So this is now about 12 years that like my dad is watching me like, you know, that's a whole separate conversation. You know, we can tackle that later about how our parents dealt with the creativity,
right?
And like how, yeah, they did what they did. But yeah, it was 2015. He was like, okay, you need to go get some certification. You need to go get some kind of background in this. So it was a 9-month course, quick one. And it was supposed to be.
That's very nice of him. Like he
understood. No, he came around. He 100% came around, man. Awesome. Yeah, but that was great of him that to recognize and to eventually be like, okay, let me help him. Let me see. Let me at least figure out some level of guidance here, because this seems to be the only thing that seems to get him up out of it in the morning. So yeah, he got that, and he put me through to school there. There was 9 months where it was like going to the gym, man. Like, now the only thing was, again, it was a fat commute from San Jose to Emeryville, which is, again, like the opposite side of the bay, but instead of going to the west, now I'm going all the way up north. So, you know, like Berkeley, San Francisco. So it's like right there. So every day I'm going from San Jose there. It's 50 plus miles. It's 100 miles every day that I'm traveling, but I am doing it ecstatic, you know, like loving it. I'm showing up to class early.
That's amazing.
The instructors are noticing that, like, and I got like top GPA in my class.
And this is SAE, right?
SAE, yes, exactly, yes.
It's a world famous place, bro, you know?
And that's something that didn't dawn on me while I was there.
Right.
I just thought this was the one that was around, like when I searched
this is your neighborhood. Oh, in the Bay, this is what we have.
And then I saw that, like, there's cities all over the globe that they operate out of.
Right.
And like, this is
and Berkeley, I think, is the original. Is like the one that's it's famous for.
So it was when I enrolled, it was in San Francisco, but then it flooded and like the roof collapsed and something like that. So then they transferred us across the bay to Emeryville, which is like borders Berkeley. And there it's called Expression College. So it became SAE/Expression.
Interesting.
Now that was like Candyland for somebody who's like into audio shit, man. I'll like the kind of like consoles they had, the rooms they had, the instructors that were so knowledgeable. They had industry experience, and that was just one side, because the whole other side was animation and like film. So like, man, that's where like I really dug my teeth into like production and like really figuring out the process.
That's sick.
Yeah, man.
SAE is so interesting. You know, my first interaction with SAE was like when I was in that gap year doing that album.
Okay.
You know, we were a bunch of friends, right? Who were doing music and whatnot. Right. There was one guy who used to bullshit all the time. Like, his main thing was bullshitting. All right. And everybody knew. He just talked.
Every crew has one.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was the worst. And he used to lie. He was a little older than us.
Okay.
Because we were teenagers. This guy was like in his 20s.
I hate those.
So he had a lie that, I went to school in SAE, and that's why, I'm doing this now. You know, that was his story. that was his spiel. Everybody was like,
did he have that attitude as well?
He's like this big shot, you know?
God. Okay.
Everybody was like, bro, he's just lying, you know? Like, he never left Bangladesh. Like, and he's like, no, I was in California. I used to be in SAE. And then I was like, bro, fuck that. But through that process, we all researched SAE, and everybody was like, wow, this is a really good school. And everybody in the group was like, yeah, I would love to go there. I know that fucker didn't go there, but I would love to go there. This looks awesome.
This looks legit.
Yeah, this is great. Wow. And so we heard through the grapevines growing up.
Like, but did he actually go?
No, he didn't. It was bullshit. It was bullshit, dude.
Man.
But yeah, that's how I know SAE. And,
the cojones on some people, man. Yeah. Like, they just like BS like so much. Like, and it's like, for folks like myself who like try to stick to like the truth as much as possible, and in the grown years, it's hard, man. Like to decipher like what's real and what's not. But yeah, SAE, man, I didn't know it was like reputed that way.
It's very reputed
until like I actually like left or like finished the degree, and then I realized, like, I started looking at all the cities. I was like, wait, hold up, this isn't just USA. Like, this is in some other countries.
They have like in Australia and stuff, and everywhere.
Did you know of it? No, it wouldn't be in Saudi Arabia.
No, it wasn't in Asia at all. I think back then. But back then, the ones that we knew about or heard from the grapevines of other artists who actually went to SAE.
Sure.
It was like UK. It was Cali. It was Australia. There's a big artist in Bangladesh who He's a pop star.
Okay.
And he went to SAE in the UK.
What? What's his name?
His name is Habib.
Habib.
Yeah, he came. He's super world famous now, but like.
And he came out of SAE.
Yeah, his source was that. Like his dad was a musician too, so his dad knew. You know.
Yeah,
like,
you have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And like that's what it is. Is like folks that are somewhat knowledgeable about music and stuff. My dad did play the guitar. He played the mandolin. Wow. He's part of his college band and things like that. That's so yeah, he could play like songs like just hearing it and then like noodling on the guitar. I hate those people. Like I mean, with all love and respect, of course, but like God, that's one of those like talent things where I'm like, if I had that level, that sensibility, I think I'd be a different monster. Yeah, but like anyway, I digress. Pops put me through the SAE, and that was like a 9-month course. But every day was like that commute, but I was showing up happy. And they would have these lab hours after you had your discussions and your lectures, where you had to kind of do their assignments, but in these small studios. So I remember still the first lab hour that I had, it was like 4 hours in this small windowless cubby, these small like monitors that were hanging off of the wall, and then like you had your little Pro Tools rig right here. Wow. And it was 4 hours, and I sat in there for 4 hours. I ran a fever on the way back home. I was not equipped. I didn't know what it was actually like to do this, you know what I mean? To have assignments and to kind of do audio engineering versus creating music, which is very free form. It's much more like passion driven. And so that was another thing that I feel like I learned a lot at that school was there is a science to this. There is physics to this. And if you're trying to get to the highest levels, you got to respect it, that there is a level of craft here that you have to be conscious about. And there's reasons why recording engineers get paid the salary they get paid. Like it's extremely like critical work, it's like a lot of attention to detail and signal flow. So that's something that also was new. Like I didn't know that, the circuit breakers in your house is signal flow. Like you have on and off switch, and that current is running to a certain spot and coming back. So that's really what audio was that, and that kind of changed my view on everything. It kind of elevated going past the amateur, in my room with a laptop creating music, now actually mixing, now understanding what balance meant, and then being around others. That was like the other 50%. Other creatives that were going just as hard, if not harder as I was. And you came across real talent. Now this is like funny thinking about it right now. Jamian, shout out Jamian. He was on Soul Purpose. He's on 7 Chakras, and he does the hook for it. And I remember Baka. Oh, shout out Baka as well. I met him there. Baka and myself were recording Jamian, and he taught me this whole thing where if you aim it off to the side, you don't need a pop filter. So there's like little things like that you pick up, and like constantly for 9 months. And then 2 years after that, I believe I graduated, I think it was 2015. So end of 2015 till 2017, I was working on an album. But 2015 to 2017, I went back to work to Apple from 2015 to 2016, or like maybe August 2016. So I went back January, beginning of 2016, and then I was let go August, just because, damn, like that was something again like that I learned was like, if I'm not driven by something that I love or that I have passion for, it's gonna start showing. And there I just barely got through. I remember the last 2 months I was just so mentally checked out of that job, and just the people around, and the mundane, like, just rinse repeat of the day. And and as a contractor, you don't get benefits. As a contractor, you don't get a lot of the treatment that you would think comes from a $1 trillion tech company. You get nothing at all.
No PTO, no sick days.
They don't care.
No fucking anything.
You don't come, you don't get paid.
Yeah,
that's
just how this even works. On a holiday, like 4th of July, you take it.
No,
you're off. Yeah, it means you're not
unless
getting paid.
Unless the doors are closed and you can't come in.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Then yeah, like you're dispensable.
Your loss. Yeah. Yeah, dude. This is like a big subject. Like this, like
it's
even
huge.
I have so much thought on this one too. But just like the fact that you're talking about this today is crazy. Because like earlier today, I had a call with a mentor of mine, and he's this older dude, and he was telling me context is that he's an entrepreneur, he's successful, blah blah. So that he was telling me that he feels allergic to the mindset of like the daily drivel of like, fuck, it's, you know, Wednesday, hump day, it's like, oh, I can't wait till Friday, and like like just complaining through this process, and just going through the life where it's like the same old repeat, you know, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And he was like super allergic to that. He got sick of it. He didn't like it. He didn't like having friends who were used to that either. And like, just because like it's just too much, you know?
Yeah, it comes with a certain conversation that you're gonna have.
With, and every day.
Certain folks.
Right. And it's interesting that he mentioned that, like, I feel that and you feel that. So it's like a certain type of people, you know, who thinks like this. You know, it's a very entrepreneurial, like, dreamer type. You know, like, that's the type of person you are. You're just like, I would rather go for my creative goals. I know I got this. Like, I have confidence in me to do this. So why should I fucking go through this
like
drivel?
Keep putting up with
this bullshit every fucking day.
And like a lot of that reason is really, I think, why do people put up with it? It is a financial reason. Like, this is where I have stability, and this is where, like, at least I can get food for the next day, and like that's valid. And sometimes, like as somebody who's been growing up, like, naturally, like, I have thoughts about the junctures in my life where, like, I chose my passion over getting paid. And like, I remember there was one time right after I graduated from SAE, they were putting us on to, like, you know, onto like certain job openings that are in the area, and they need to do this to be like legally, you know, because that's what they state in their mission statement. They have to be able to help you find some kind of employment with the skills that you learned here, which was appreciated. So there was this one there was like a staging company, I can't remember the name, but they like created rigs, you know, like for live events and stuff. And I was going to be one of the guys, you know, you got to be able to carry 50 pounds and got to get the steel toe shoes. And you were going to be part of that crew that like set these things up and struck them down. And then if you showed up enough, you would be able to move into live audio engineering, you know, which is what I was thinking at that time. Bro, but I remember actually like having, I think, was it the first one? Yeah, I think it was the first album. Yeah. So I'm talking about first album after I graduated from this audio technology course. I remember I was on the way in the direction of these two things. One, I had a studio session booked. It was 8 hours. It was going to be the whole day. And I had people showing up, you know, and like we were going to make music. And then I remember that lady from the staging company called me on my way there. Was like, it pays $1,000. And I was like, And I remember I had a decision to make there. Were we going to call this session off, or were we going to, you know, like, or were we going to deny the money? I denied the money. I went straight for the session. Dang. And like,
so at that rig company, like, what would you have to do?
Yeah, just set up and strike. I think that particular job was like, there was something at the wharf maybe, or something in San Francisco. Like there was an event, and I was gonna help set up and strike. It was the whole day again.
Okay.
Now another reason why I denied it, and like this is a much more tangible reason, I didn't get all the necessary things that they told me to get in terms of like the khakis, you know, the Dickies, like the black ones with the steel toe shoes, and I need to have a black polo or something, and like or a blue polo or something like that.
That makes sense.
Dog, I didn't have the motivation to go get all that stuff. I had applied for it, they had accepted me, but man, like I did not do one job for that company.
It makes sense. I mean, you just didn't want to do that. Like,
and that's how strong the want is. And like that's how, like, when, and maybe because, and this is another conversation, but like, because maybe I came up around money, like my mom and dad, although they worked their whole lives, like they saved up, you know. And then you look at my uncles and you look at extended family and like folks who own businesses and all of that, like I came up around money, you know. And so like for me, it wasn't necessarily like something I haven't seen or I haven't been a part of, you know, or like because parents, like they give their kids a good life. And like I was living in a great suburb in Evergreen. Like my cousins all had great houses that their parents could afford because of how hard they worked. And we had a pretty good life in that way. So for me, the survival thing hadn't really kicked in. Which is pretty late, you know, for a lot of people. Like, you know, it's for, and at that time it was like 18 years old, you're out of the house. So like that was a realization point for me, speaking to your point, in that like people are different, and that like recognizing that you're different and leaning into that difference, not trying to continue to fight it just because it yields like very unhappy results. And like as much as you might have something to show for it, you're always going to feel like something was lacking. And I think there were like key moments in my life there where I was like, you know, this is what I want to be around, and this is what I want to be a part of, and I got to commit myself fully to this. So that first album after I graduated came out in 2017, called Sole Purpose, and that's where we met up with Desi Hip Hop. And that's where like I feel like yours and I like journey. That's where we.
That's the first time we talked, right?
Yeah, that's where we met.
Dang. That feels both like a long time ago and also just
now. Yeah. It's hard for me to discern the difference between 27-year-old Saheer and 32-year-old Saheer in that capacity, in terms of like hunger and willingness to like orchestrate, you know, and like that block right there. So after Sole Purpose, you know, I think we sent over 3 music videos. And the collaborations that I had on that album just in the studio. So that whole album was made at SAE Expression in their studios. And like,
that album has really good sound.
Thank you.
You know, I always heard that like right from the start.
Nice.
I think that time I also did, I don't know if this happened, but I feel like we also did a podcast like interview like for Desi Hip Hop, like where I did a video call with you.
With Peter?
Like me and you.
Okay.
Like some time back in 2017, 18.
Shit, bro, you're gonna have to show me this
on Skype or something.
Damn, that's not coming to me. That's not, holy crap.
I feel like I remember like you were outside of your like family house, like somebody's house, like a dad's house or uncle's house or something. And you came out and you were on the phone with me, and I was on Skype and I recorded the whole thing. It was like some marketing for like that album, I think.
Holy crap, I gotta see this, bro. Okay.
I just have a feeling that's what that was, and I think it was. We'll come back to it. When we take a break.
Damn, I'm gonna have to see. I gotta dig this out. These are like little pieces of memorabilia, you know, in life, and that's something that I just can't even like pinpoint in my head. But yes, we did a lot. Like I remember that Sole Purpose, that album, even like, and it sucks, man. Like, how much more time we got right now?
Couple more minutes.
Okay, yeah. So like I think like that album was like the start of my like true calling. Like it felt like I was living out who I was supposed to be, like, which is the center of this musical creation. And I brought together like maybe like 10 people, something like that, where like we came together in the music creation process, where we came together just to make the music. There was no visual component added. But then when the visual component got added, and I saw the dedication that I got from very talented videographers and editors for next to nothing in terms of payment. Wow. Like, that's humbling, you know? Like, that's when you're watching somebody in a whole other field operate how you operate in your field. And then they come give you results that you had never seen before, that you had never gotten this level of treatment to your music. That just energizes you so much more as a creative.
That's true.
So like, so after Sole Purpose, like we had that and we had that whole release, I immediately got to work on the second one that came after, which was Always Known, Born Ready. It came out as Akbar, as like the acronym. That one though had like 21 people in terms of involving on the music front, completely doubled. And I was, at that point, I was way more open to social media in terms of connecting with people. And I would just relentlessly hop into people's DMs like, hey man, I got this beat. Hey man, I got this beat.
It's that hustle.
Yeah. That, like, musically, songs are awesome to me and I like them. I love the hooks and a lot of the melodic content that's on there, the raps, all that I'm very proud of. But what I'm not proud of is my mixing. That's very, very dated mixing. And the low end, so this is a little nerdy, but like, you know, with music, you have the frequency spectrum. It's kind of broken down from low end, there's the middle, and then there's the high end. And low end is like the sub, the bass kick, you know, the thump of things, you know, all of that. I didn't monitor that accurately, and therefore I didn't really attenuate and filter it correctly. So on certain, you know, in my car, it's an Accord, so there's no subwoofer in the back. The low end, whatever I'm feeling, is coming from the cones. And those poor things, like, they're doing what they can, but there's a lot of information in the sub that's not coming through, that I'm not hearing, and I'm thinking it's cool. So my friend, I remember this was in Evergreen, shout out Kieran, man, what up, bro? He took me into his Porsche and was like, bro, like, these songs are great, and I haven't touched any of the EQs, but I'm gonna just turn it up. And when he played, like, just the first song, like, you hear the sample is the Rahman sample for Ye Hasi Wadia. Shout out Rahman. The sample plays fine, but when that bass drops, like, it was shattering. Like, it was like the windows were vibrating. Everything was going too crazy. Right. So you couldn't really turn it up. You know, like, the low end was reaching way before any of the other shit could even make its way. Ah, man. But that made me so much more, that like had me double down on my journey here. So that second one, like the second one called Always Known Born Ready, Akbar, like, that one has the low end that I paid attention to, where I've like, okay, there's a whole side to this that I didn't monitor. So I love that, in terms of, you can see the difference between those two, like, back to back, because one came out in 2017, the other one came out 2018. And that project, though, for 2018 now, like, that's where I met, or not met, but that's where I worked with Raginder very closely. Shout out Raginder, what up, man? He's performing this week. Yeah, so he I remember I had maybe like 5 of my friends that went to school with me in the studio when Raginder was gonna show up. And I knew that Raginder's like, he's like a world-class musician, like somebody who's traveled, so there's like a certain, you know, caliber. I remember he came in and he sat down in the control room and we played the song back, and he was like, yeah, bro, I'm good. And so he went into the recording, like and this was a room, it's like a very large room that's meant for recording. It's where you put like orchestras and things like that, bands. Yep, but it was just him, so we had to kind of set it up. That was it's just so exciting, man. I love that. Those are the parts that I geek over. Like, I love like working with people to set up spaces and then capture an artistic performance. But I shit you not, I have not come across artistry like that, or talent level like that, in terms of musicianship. So I know that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of talented musicians out there that I'll never come across. But this was now me becoming exposed to a certain caliber. He walked in and I think we played the track back 3 times from the top. So that was maybe like 12 minutes grand total. That was it. But seeing him take every take from the start and then go all the way to wherever he wanted to go, and he plays the violin. That's something I don't think I mentioned. But he was like rapping with the violin, like freestyles and things that were just woo. And he would catch vibes, and that I would then go back and fish, you know. So like I get to go back and I get to do the fun job, which is mixing and mastering. And there's like these 3 takes that he has, and now I get to jigsaw it all together. But you have to know how to cut. You have to know how to phase through or fade in and out. And it's a lot of crossfading. There's a lot of takes that weren't next to each other, that went next to each other. Things that, man, I would never, ever have the experience with if not for him. So thank you and salute. But like, those are those. So there's like that song we did, 9 Nights, which was, I would say my biggest collaboration till date. So that song alone on the production front was like 11 people, because there was like 3 mix engineers that were in the room, because I had rapped on it too, so like they were there to do that whole thing. But then like I remember Baka came in to do just the horn bit, the horns, and like I remember we reached out to Ishmeet Narula to do the shout out Ishmeet, to do the chorus. And then my friend Malik that I went to school with, he was on the second verse. So it was already a lot of people, you know, on that song. And then there's Raginder, you know, that comes in with his violin. Then though, like I remember I sent it to my friend Kieran that I mentioned earlier. He was taking an interest in videography for a few years. And he was like, yo, I really like this song. Can we make this a music video? And he knew that he could, I guess, like do the logistical part, which is what directors do, is like getting people together. But to actually get the shot was like, we have to find somebody who knows how to do this. And that was like my real, aside from Deep, who is my friend and somebody who I met, shout out Deep, somebody who I met earlier on in college, and he's a very successful and talented videographer now. But this videographer that we went to for 9 nights, he was somebody who went to high school with me. When he was a senior, I was a freshman, so I only knew him as like the older dude. But he had a video company, and he heard that song, and he was like, yes, I want to do this. This is great. I love the production. And I remember that was a 3-day video shoot. Never spent that much time shooting a music video before. We involved, I think it was 10 female dancers, and then there was just so much to it. There was like, oh, and my cousin Sohail, shout out Sohail, at that time he was 13 years old, just exactly the age that I was when I started this. So he was playing a young me. We had a whole narrative driven to it, and like the amount of collaboration that came from that one song, oh man, like till this day, that's what kind of fuels me, you know, to get back out there, to like make music and to get people excited, you know, about music, because there are people that just will work with you off the strength of getting them enthusiastic. Yeah, that's
true.
and you got to kind of find them, but they're there. And so after 2018, right, do this whole album.
Was that 9 Nights of that album? Was it independently released? Was that through
Distro Kid? Kid? So at that time, we didn't do Desi hip hop at that time. I think maybe at that point we were kind of trying to do things away from just Desi stuff. Right. And I don't think there was. I'm trying to think of the track list now.
No, I do remember that.
There wasn't a lot of. No, I'm trying to remember why we didn't go back again, and I think it was because like the album itself like just didn't have as much of the Desi undertone that I think.
Yeah, and I think you were also trying to own your own shit, so that makes sense.
That was that was its own thing. Yeah. That was the other thing. Okay, so that bug of ownership, I think that got introduced. Damn, you're right. You're totally right. I think that's what got introduced at that time, was like you could have everything.
Right. I remember that honestly. I remember those periods.
Oh, dog, tell me then on the other side, because we never talked about this.
No, I knew that you were trying to like make your own thing. That's why because it was High Rise Entertainment and all that. So I knew that you wanted to make your own label, own production, own stuff. I just like the videos, the quality of the sound.
Thank you. Yeah.
We did some promotion and stuff, but like that's what we did.
Oh, I remember.
We worked on.
But that was love. That was appreciation. That was respect. And I
do remember that part, that you were trying to do your own hustle.
That was No, you reminded me of that, because that's like there was a time there where Distro Kid was introduced, and I was like, oh shit, I can do splits as well, and like why not? Like let's get this going. So I remember doing that. Yeah, but then so after that album gets made, we hit a space where it's like, okay, what do we do now? For me, like as an artist, like I did this big video, like it did great. We had a whole release thing, like it was very exciting. So there's like momentum built to a crescendo, and then now what? And I remember so like this is now we're getting into 2019, and I remember there was a duo. It was like an electronic music production duo that had like a Indian folk background.
Okay.
There's a group called Arjunal from Bangalore.
Right.
And shout out them, man. They sent me 2 beats. The first one I did a verse to, like, and I sent that back and they loved it. And then the second one, I sent the whole song back. So it was a hook, it was 2 verses. And I remember they wanted me to go to the studio to re-record these vocals for the second song. Mm-hmm. I did it, and they responded back saying, like, you know, it didn't feel the same, you know, like my delivery and stuff. And that was, I think, when I was telling you about off camera about how, like, you shouldn't be in over dead spaces, like in recording in spaces that have too much padding in them,
right,
because that creates a vacuum and you squeeze because you can't hear yourself. Mm-hmm. So there is an art to, like, you know, deadening rooms. And I remember for that one, I went to a space that wasn't treated right, and so they could tell that. Now, I do accept responsibility that I didn't go back, or I didn't re-record somewhere that was right. I just didn't get the okay to go re-record again. So they just kind of fell off on me. And I had this song though, you know, like, that I loved, and I was like, man, I got to make this a song. Like, I had to make this in some kind of asset. I don't know where I'll put it out, but I'll make it. I remember I sat on those vocals for maybe like 6 months. That, like, I was just annoyed, you know, like disheartened a little. I don't know what I'm doing in the meantime of this because it's a little blurry, but I just remember about this song. Mm-hmm. And then I sit down one day and I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot after 6 months of not doing it. And I shit you not, the beat came together within like 20 minutes. It was like a moment of like clarity, like where I could make an entire composition to an acapella. I had never done that before. And there's an acapella that was intended to a whole other composition. Mm-hmm. But I made this beat and it was banging. And I was like, this is dope. I love it. It's like simple. It's got like it reminded me of Wanksta from, you know, with like a do 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 do. Yeah, like up there, you know, like, but it's got a hard, you know, beat to it. And I remember like that song, and then a second one got made a little bit after. So I had these 2 great songs in the cut that I just loved. Mm-hmm. And I remember being at Target shopping. It was just by myself, like looking at some game boards, and Hardik called me. Shout out Hardik, man. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Hardik calls me and he's like, yo, like, at that time, like, the details weren't like solid to me, mm-hmm. but he was saying that he was working with Sony and that they were looking for music to fill up their, I think, Q4 or something like that. That's what he had said. And I only had these 2 songs that I'm really proud of that haven't come out yet. And I remember sending it to him right then and there. Like, they were sitting in Dropbox and I sent it to him. And he was like, bet, I'll be in touch. Yeah. And damn, like, I can't explain to you how like great it felt when he actually called me back. I was like, bro, they actually want these. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, these 2 like that you sent, Pressure and No Apologies, like they're
on both of them.
They're on them. Yeah, they like them, and they kind of picked them out, you know. Like I also, and you know, to his credit, I appreciate his honesty. Like, he wasn't expecting it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, low key, I wouldn't either, just because it's India, you know, and it's South Asia. Like, you'd think maybe these other artists stand a better chance. But I knew that my shit was fire, dog. Mm-hmm. Like, this beat was banging. Right. Until this day, like, it still gets streamed, it still gets spun. And Pressure and No Apologies, we managed to sell that to Sony. RAF, huge part of that. Right. And that's where, like, to me and in my like personal selfish, you know, perspective, RAF's name became like, wait, bro, what is he doing over there? Because like this is sick. Like, I got the contract. It came in the mail from Bombay, and like when the way they do contracts, right? And I don't know if this is giving up too much, but like it's like apparently a common business practice to put like big sheets of like money.
Yeah, it's crazy
on top. I didn't know.
Say, what the fuck?
I'm getting introduced to a whole different. It's so exciting.
I was on the other side of mailing the contract.
What was that like, bro? Tell me.
Because I remember like that contract was with me, and we had to send it out over to you guys. And
yeah,
I wasn't in charge of sending it. Like there was somebody else doing that, but I do remember like it going out in the mail, and it was so sick. I was excited that these guys are gonna get it. This is gonna be awesome. So like sick. They're gonna love it as much as I did. You know,
you don't know how that
the dollar thing, the thing that you just talked about
with the rupees.
Yeah, I was just like, even for me, because we're in America, you know, we don't see rupees anymore.
No.
Like, oh wow, cool.
That was the first thing you see on a contract. Yeah, and like, and the way that my mom and dad, like when they saw that, they were like, yeah, that's real. That's it. And like, that. And how it felt like to my parents, I think there's like a level of, I'm not gonna say relief, because I mean we're still working hard, but
they're proud of you.
Yeah, proud that like he wasn't like goofing off about this. Right. That like whatever he's doing up there, it has the potential to be used in the real world. Sure. And like when they saw that Sony, you know, logo on the on that big envelope that came through, there's a level of pride, you know, in that. Right. And those were, I remember that was like, I think maybe like the first time ever like my dad has said good job. You know what I mean? Right. And like for Indian parents, for South Asian parents, like that's tough. Like it's a very high, like, you know, bar. And so like that was very exciting. It's like these are these moments that kind of push your career forward. They kind of like give you that pat on the back, like, yo, just keep going. And
that's true.
Don't overthink this too much. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, man, that's amazing. That was an exciting time. Yeah. Very. Still is till this day. Like when you think about it and stuff, like it was a very genuine moment. It's like coming from obscurity, you know, like no one's really heard of SAHEER, but like now, like they got, I'm on this channel that has like millions of subscribers, that has like this now a marketing budget now. With this music video that we shoot, it's not just gonna be on my little channel, you know, like this is gonna be on Sony Music next to freaking Shah Rukh Khan, you know, and next to like I think at the time Badshah was big too, so like there was like that kind of.
Badshah's always big.
Yeah,
but yeah, that makes sense.
Was but then like, dude, like just because I want to
as an A&R at that time at Sony, it was like it was exciting for me to see a lot of people were really interested in your music, like everybody at the office and stuff, they would vibe to that.
It was like, I think there was a certain energy at that point, you know, and just between our like independent scene, like what we had cultivated on our respective fronts. Yeah,
it's true. So throughout your past few years, you know, like past number of years, I mean, so many different changes have happened. You've been in different environments, work environments, school environments, which were also different, and different experiences in the booths and the studios and all this stuff, right? Can you tell me about like one or two examples of times where you had to get out of your comfort zone that like led to something great that you didn't even think about, you know? Because I already hear some of those stories over there, and I just wanted to pull that thread. Cause
comfort zone wise, one story that comes to mind, I remember, can't remember the band name, but this was again, shout out Deep. He called me out for a music video filming that they were doing, but they wanted to record the band live, and so that's where he was calling me in to come record these people. And I remember I had requested that this band bring, like, I think it was about 4 mics, and because they had it was a 3-piece band, I just wanted to mic and this was on a budget too, so like I wanted to have some kind of stereo image for the drum kit. And I remember this lady brought 3 mics only, so like I need to have a mic on the bass amp, and I need to have a mic for the vocalist. And the guitar thankfully had like a direct input, so that wasn't a problem. But it was it had its own amplifier. Damn, did she anyway, she didn't bring enough mics for the drum kit. I might be getting the numbers wrong.
Yeah, drums need a lot of mics.
They do, to get a full image. But I remember she showed up with that, and they were getting the shot set up, and so I had about like a half hour. I was right there like freaking out. Like how am I gonna mic this drum kit with 1 mic? And I remember that, like flipping open my phone, Googling like yo, can I do this with one mic? And turns out you can. Like, if you put it directly in the center of the kit and you have it face upwards towards the snare, you get, it's a mono signal. It's pretty terrible, but you can get it. It's the full image. You get the hi-hat, you get the snare, you get the cymbals, you get the bass kick, and everything somewhat even. You know, it sounded pretty good to me. Yeah. Now, that project never came out. I never saw the final edit of it, probably because the sound was so horrible. And like, they didn't really give me all that much. But I remember that being one of those, like, oh my God, like, what are we gonna do type of moments. And now, like, when I get called on to do, I did a recording for a real estate video, and I was on the boom mic, and we had to record a lot of Foley sound and things like that. And it was just that one boom mic. So knowing that I could Foley sound, meaning like, you know, just objects like, you know, like glass clinking and things like that. But I remember being able to utilize that different polar patterns on the mic for different situations, different sorts of whatever like action I needed to get audio for, and that came from that experience. That's and awesome. So, and then you're doing it with a way easier comfort, you know, like you're not freaking out at all. And this was like one of those like really like multi-millionaire estates up in San Jose. Like, I was in charge of doing, it like, had to be good. Yeah, yeah. And they had and they had like a they had like a, it must have been easily like 50-60 grand budget just for this like a 2-minute video that they wanted for this property. And yeah, like when you're part of a bigger production like that, like they expect you to go do your thing, you know, and then come back with assets. And then based off of what you come back, you'll either be called back or you won't. And that's what you learn. And that's what was really like important to me, was like my conduct and what I did right then and there in that moment in time. It was all being noted, and it'll directly affect what you get later. So yeah, that was one of them that really jumps out at me. I think like there's a lot of moments. I think for folks that are in the creative field, if we don't get out of our comfort zone, and if we stay in what is familiar and we stagnate, then that might be the end of it. You know, that might be the end of you even trying to come up with something from scratch. And yeah, I think that's something that like really does that really matters, like when you're, you know, faced with uncertain situations. Like how are you gonna figure this out and use this to my advantage when we move forward? Yeah, bro. Yeah, that was one.
That's really cool, man. What are some lessons learned like through all these years? And like, what brought you here, like to do a podcast even, you know?
Okay, so when we think about it now, like in respect to who I am now, so that's like, like I'm a husband, I'm a father, and then I'm an artist. I think that's what this whole journey up till now is teaching me, is that you can do all of this stuff, but the things that matter, you know, it's not just one thing. It's not one over the other. You have to learn how to balance. You have to know how to take care of all aspects of your life. And even now, if we just focus in on the music side, that creatively, there's so many aspects, you know, there's so many things that have to work together. So I think that's something that I learned, was the relationships, you know, the collaboration, bringing a lot of this stuff together. It doesn't happen just off of one thing, one person. So now we come to this podcast where I feel like now we're able to have a conversation, we're able to speak to people and put a message out without having the requirement of music, you know, and catching people's ear off of beats, which is such a, you know, 50-50 chance, you know. So like you might be saying some real shit, you know, in your song, but if this person doesn't like your beat, or if the algorithm doesn't, you know, oh my God. So like there's so many things. I think that's the biggest lesson till now, is just like there's like, it's not just one thing. It's not that you're gonna feel fulfilled just off of one thing. You have to do multiple things if you're a creative. I think that's where mostly that's what I'm learning. But like for me, damn, like there's a lot more, and I'm sure I'll be able to, you know, give more lessons as we go along. For sure. But this collaboration thing in terms of relationships, looking out for those, you know, and I think by way of doing good work, is one way, but then like actually just being a human, you know, like being considerate, or going like sometimes like just like shooting the shit with people, you know, and like
that is so important.
Trying to just get like their perspective on life and like what are they going through, and if they want to like just unload, if they want to vent, if they want to, you know, then I'm here for it.
Part
you
of
know,
your job.
Yeah. And I think it should be, and I think that also fuels the creativity for other things, you know, and like being able to give people messages that can inspire them, you know, moving forward. So
that's true.
Damn, there's a lot. There's a dense, you know.
No, I like that.
It's a dense thing.
Those are.
What about you?
Some great lessons learned.
Oh, sorry. No, before we get to the lessons you've learned, I wanted to real quick just jump back to the Sony music deal that we were talking about.
Sure.
Because I never really got your perspective. You know, a lot of. I remember you saying like you had plans and you were working with them over there. Because you were on the ground in Bombay, right? Yeah. So like, tell me what that was like, real quick.
Sure.
If you could.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bombay was awesome. It was me and my wife, and we both went.
Nice.
And it was a beautiful city. It's a very beautiful city. I've obviously, been to Asia so many times, South Asia. Definitely, like I've seen those type of cities, so it wasn't so new to me, but still it was awesome to me. You know what I mean? Like I really enjoyed my time there. It was so hot. But during this time that I was there in that city, I was really grinding because Bombay is the home, their Hollywood, you know, so it's like the home of culture, like in terms of music and, media, really. Right. I took that opportunity, dude, like in a very short time. I went from, oh shit, I'm in Bombay now, I don't know anyone, to, holy shit, I've now met every CEO of any record label in this town. Wow. This is weird. That's what happened. Like in the short time, it went from like I don't know anybody to like boom, like holy shit, I know everybody.
Yeah. Like, wow. The hype was wow. Okay.
That part was fun for me. You know?
So was it? Were you somewhat expected there? Like they knew that RAF was coming.
Yeah, and I set up meetings with everybody. That's what it is. Like when I first went there, I started the grind of, like I mentioned in my previous, stories, whenever I go to a new place, I'm just trying to make new friends first. Yeah. So I did that, and it happened to be like these people, people I needed to know in the music game. And so it was, that part was like, that gave me confidence again, any new place too, like I can just like hustle out. And you're meeting the right people. Yeah, I could do
people that are like furthering your interests.
Right.
And like, that's like, I guess like the universe kind of, again, patting you on the back, like just keep going. Like that's really dope.
It's true. It's, and all this happened just because of Desi hip hop, and
sure.
When I was here in 2011, 12, figuring out Desi hip hop, like me and Hardik and the few people that we were working together, we were just trying to make like a brand that can like make our people proud of like music, of the music that they're doing, no matter where they're from.
That was appreciated.
That was the first goal. And we started that. We didn't know where it was going, but I had all these dreams of like record label, like I want to create like a record label.
You're coming from production. Like
I've been thinking like, I want to own this shit, like I want to make a label. And Hardik, he's always been a great mentor to me just because like his 10 years advance,
sure,
you could say. So it was helpful because he had some vision that was a little longer than I could see.
Sure.
Sure. And he agreed with this label type of idea, like, if we're doing music, if we're putting out stuff, on our websites and our social media, because social media was the game,
Yes.
That's the game I was trying to control. Like from the beginning, for me, it was like Facebook. How do I get to 100,000 fans? How fast can I do that?
Right.
And
right.
And that time it was organic too. Organic was working, so we would do organic.
Right. There wasn't such a stringent algorithm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so we just had to be very lean startup and just focus on social.
Nice.
We did that, and while we were doing that, Hardik was trying to figure out how do I distribute music to like the world, because we run into so many artists and their shit is not on iTunes, their shit is not on Spotify.
Wow, yeah.
And all these people, like I don't know, like there's so many underground guys that we just ran into, and nobody knows their music.
They're not gonna, or at least the side of the logistical side that a label takes care of, which is like getting your music to retailers. Yeah. Like a lot of people don't, like especially creatives, like they're not gonna concern themselves with these things if that creative need is being met. So like, there's a need there.
It was a big problem. We were realizing that even when we write an article or something, content about an artist who's very good, like in India or in Bangladesh or somewhere where they didn't anyways, somebody around the world, like not in the US, let's just say, what I'm trying to say, an artist from Asia who's not in the US making good music, we're putting out some content, we don't have any freaking YouTube links to send to the post, we don't have any Spotify links, no iTunes. Like it's usually, YouTube, I'm wrong. YouTube was there because they were doing videos, but there was no iTunes for that song. And this was a big problem we were realizing with more and more artists. Even my group of friends, the album that I had released, that one was through a major label in Bangladesh. We had hard copies in stores. But it took a few years till it came online to Spotify and streaming.
Right.
And
because they probably got to figure out the business on their side.
But that's not cool.
No,
not
at all.
Saying? Like, motherfucker, like, what do you?
No.
How do you have a label with like it's not coming out on Spotify? Or whatever online. And so we were like, okay, we got to solve this problem. So around that time, Hardik struck up a deal with the Orchard. And at that time, the Orchard was not a Sony company. Orchard is a Sony company now. Years later, Sony bought them out and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
At that time, Orchard was the Orchard. It was like, it was cool to us. We were like, hey, this is a good service. We were, shopping around for different brands like that. We also went to Empire. We went to Orchard. And a few, like Hardik is close with Ghazi at Empire.
Dope.
So like they had some conversations going, but like, anyways, we ended up with the Orchard out of like, I think it's just meant to be because like it helped in the future. We didn't know all this at the time, but anyways, we worked with the Orchard. This started our ability to now distribute music globally, and we had this marketplace that we can tap into. So we started helping artists, like how do we get people to use this now? Right. And for us, Hardik is a genius because he worked out a deal with the Orchard where he took very low risk for Desi hip hop, and got the Orchard skin in the game in a way where the Orchard got a piece of the pie, we got a piece of the pie, and the artist got the maximum piece of the pie. He worked out a very good deal with the Orchard. So that was also the same time that we started helping out artists like Divine, like working with them, like on marketing, on stuff, There was Divine, there was MUA, there was a lot of new people at that time who the world had no idea about, Wow. One of these artists was also Raja Kumari in the Bay.
Oh, yeah.
But this period, bro, like, was a period that kicked off a stage where we distributed like 300 plus singles.
Holy shit.
For artists all over the world. Majority from South Asia. And
that's major.
Yeah, it was like, it gave me that pride that the first goal that we had to like get more artists out there happened. Like I was having trouble finding these artists on Spotify. Now I see every one of them. And they got the tag, the imprint that we have. They have it under there. And we created this shit.
Right.
Felt really good.
Made that happen.
Yeah. At the same time, I was also working a tech job, trying to pay for my life, because yes, this is great. 300
Bills
singles.
Don't stop though.
Yeah. 300 songs, great. We're built into this business through equity. And equity is great. Royalties will come in the future. All this is great for long term. What are we doing short term? It was an issue. And so, I was doing kind of like divided into two, but really trying to do that, But it was a great period because during this time I got a chance to not only take two different shots in two different sides, which seems crazy to me still. Like, how can that be possible? But it led to a situation where I was doing a corporate job, finish my work till like on Friday night, get in the car, rented a Toyota, you know, fuck, I'm forgetting the words. The electric car, the first ones, those ugly ones.
The Prius?
Prius, yeah. Got a Prius, drove from Minneapolis to Texas to attend South by Southwest.
Wow.
The next day, I gave a speech on stage. Had Humble the Poet, me, Hardik, and this other guy who later became an asshole. But we did this, and then wrap up, drive all the way back. Cost me just $50 on gas because of the Prius, which is awesome.
Awesome.
But it was like, it's so divided, you know, and like I still live a divided life.
What a hustle! That is today. Awesome.
Yeah. And I think that period like really defined these type of things.
Yeah.
You know.
Holy shit! So like that's. But see, divided, but like they're happening simultaneously. I think it's balance.
It's the had to. You know, I had to do. Yeah, it led to a journey of releasing like 300 plus singles of artists from all over the world. And then, so many things have happened that with these singles, some of them went to Netflix. You worked with the one.
Oh, that was wild. Yeah. Extraction with Black Zang and DMC.
Yep. This led to such a beautiful time because, we were releasing all these songs from all over the world for artists who didn't have that access at that time. And it led to like one of the songs was the cipher from the streets of Dhaka, in Bangladesh. It's a cipher, very like ciphery, very old school, whatever, like done very ciphery too, like not the highest quality stuff, just street stuff.
Yeah.
That gets sold on TV for sync licensing.
Beautiful.
That's the goal. That's the full circle that we wanted. We wanted these opportunities.
Yeah.
We always saw that like if these artists who are talented, their songs are not on Spotify or iTunes, nobody's gonna take them seriously.
Not at all.
So how is this gonna ever work out? Like this industry that we believe in is a possibility. It wouldn't be possible.
No, it wouldn't.
Like,
if you guys didn't go in and dig.
Right.
And like find the people that were making this music, have conversations with them on the ground, so to speak, that we can do this and that it will be mutually beneficial for all of us just because of our like mission statement that for you as a company to want to get out more artists into the world, and for an artist they want this, they want more people to listen to their music, whether they want to use it for XYZ, it's different, but I think every artist wants to be heard, to a certain degree, and you guys were like finding gems, people that weren't represented before.
Yeah, a lot of those early people
on the hip hop front.
Yeah, so a lot of those early people ended up having careers in the music industry as artists, as rappers, as producers, like that. That we wanted. Like that's what we wanted. We wanted an industry that was South Asian, that was desi, that was hip hop, that was rap, that we loved. Because we've seen those people, but the world hasn't seen those people.
Right.
We were that inner circle in hip hop, like
that knew about these people.
Most people didn't know them.
That were in the know, quote unquote. Right.
And then like we could see that this industry could be something in the future. And fast forward a few years and we see Divine going getting
crazy.
Signed to Sony, a movie being made about him, and now he's rapping
at Mass Appeal, right?
He's now still at Mass Appeal, and he has Gully Gang. That's such like a beautiful story because like a guy from the streets goes on to like sign major label deals, and also creates his own record label, his own brand, his own company. Like it's not easy to make your own company, own brand. It just made like even though like Divine's not my artist or anything, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I felt proud to see him kicking ass because that was a vision that we clearly saw. Years ago. Me and Hardik.
That's really dope.
Yeah, it felt nice to see that. And
like it's also like you feel proud to a certain extent that like whether or not you're there with people or not, like you've seen them and their come up, and like you were in the trenches with artists, and like really creating and believing in folks that the world didn't know about. Like that, I think that's the hardest thing to really do, is to be early on something, or to be like the first to and to champion something that isn't obscure, that is obscure.
That's right. Yeah, I mean it was great. I learned everything about marketing and social media marketing and copywriting and what else? And you know, all of that stuff, all those skills, I learned it from doing Desi hip hop, like from the ground up, just like sweat, you know, blood and tears.
Right. You're meeting so many people.
Yeah.
Like, because you're you're the platform. You're the calling, you know, you're the beacon for independent artists that are in that South Asian region. Yeah. I mean, even for folks like us abroad, like that wanted to speak to us, to speak to culture, that like you start seeing rappers, you love rap, but you start seeing them looking like you or looking like the people that come from your culture, and you're like, this sounds great. You know, this sounds fire. This is new. And that sounded great. You know, just sonically, like I got to just like the sound of it, even though I don't know what he's saying, but just the way that, you know, those syllables curve and the way that there's like a percussive element to all of this, it's like it brings people together in a very real way, and like introduces folks around the world to this like very rich, you know, music space. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's powerful, man, and it's always pulled me so much, you know. Like even while I had to work on my, you know, tech side of my life, professional life, I knew every day that I needed to work on this music side of my professional life every day, you know, every day, like it was work, like it was a job. Just because like it would be like I would have my 9 to 5 and then this would be my 5 to 9, you know, like, but for me it was different. It wasn't even 5 to 9, it was way more, but I'll get into that. But it's like I knew I had to do this because there was something special. There was always a responsibility that there are artists out there who need this kind of a thing, you know, this kind of a brand, this kind of a person like me in my place doing this, you know,
appointment.
They need this. Without me, it's gonna be tough, and that's what made me do this. And it's I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I'm so happy just because like I got to learn all this marketing, sales, all this, you know, copywriting, and I got to learn distribution, music ownership, like royalty splits, like all of it. I got to learn like in the like very minute details. I got to learn through like distributing like at scale, you know. It's like
you learn
hundreds of songs that we're putting out, like thousands of content pieces we're putting out. It's like I got to learn from each, like very quickly, like, oh shit, that was wrong, that was bad, okay, fix it for the next one. Like very fast you're learning like things that work in distribution, and things that don't work, you know.
And like this is again live ammo, like this is people's like
you're taking the shit and doing like, it actually like, okay, you're throwing things on the wall to see what type of marketing works, you know. And you learn quickly like, okay, this
you're
didn't
getting
work.
Analytics back, like this one felt better,
oh,
we use which color did we use here?
Exactly. That, like colors, thumbnails, like all of that shit. Like I got to I got to work with content from people all over the world, you know, and most of them were kids and they were entrusting us with it, so it was like I had to be good at it. Can't be a dick about it, you know?
No, exactly. And you're trying to inspire folks. You're not trying to misuse them.
Exactly.
I said that earlier on, was everyone's here to be used, just not misused. And like if you know how to step that, especially with creatives, and like as a creative myself, I know I'm difficult to work with. You know, I know that I have a certain way that I see things. To get people like that on the same page, and not just one or two or 5 or 10, but hundreds,
bro. It's
like that.
That's right.
That's overwhelming thinking about that.
And the beauty of it is that at the time I used to feel like, man, I'm like master of none. I'm like just doing everything. I'm a generalist. Like what's going on with my life? I used to worry that like I'm doing too many things, you know, because in the music business, like from the time I started with my album as a teenager, right, till like now, I've worn every hat in the industry. Like I've done, I think, pretty much all of the jobs available. Like bar a few, you know, let's say 80% of the jobs in the music industry, I've done it. Like I was a producer, I've done the mixing and mastering back in the day, you know. I've done like I made beats myself, I did the songwriting process, and then from the image perspective, I took the pictures, I did the Photoshops, the editing, you know. I created album sleeves.
Wow.
And then like fast forward some time when I started working with Desi Hip Hop and online stuff, I started shooting videos for people because some of them needed videos and I happened to have a camera, you know, and I was like, hey, I'm going to shoot.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll learn from zero.
Yeah.
Shot videos, did marketing, online promotions.
Nice.
Oh man, artist management.
God damn.
Distribution, A&R, like literally all these fucking things, you know, and so many more that I don't need to get into, but so many things led, like so many different avenues that I picked at in this industry, you know, and I think that helped me get a general idea of every single job, so that fast forward many years to now, even today, I can be a better leader to creative types because I know I've been there. You know, whenever we're working with videographers, I know how much work he's gonna put into the edit because I was in that seat. You know?
You can gauge it.
I know he's gonna spend like hours on this.
You're right.
And I know how much it means to him. You know, just the edit, even though it's not a video of him. No, you know, he's working on the edit. He'll still do it with so much passion. I know that because I was there.
Wow.
And I know the producer, like he's gonna spend so much time putting together this beat just because that's who he is.
Yeah,
you know? I know the mix master guy, same thing. I know what the photographer's going through, like trying to get those pictures, you know? Because I know that
makes you a very empathetic person.
I can understand exactly what he's going through.
Yeah.
So then I can talk to him what he needs to hear, you know?
Wow.
Because I can see it in him if he's tired, if his this is overwhelming, or if it's like, hey, I need some space to fucking get this done, you know?
Right.
I can see it very fast, you know. I can pick up on it quick because I was there,
and
you know?
I
was that guy.
And that makes you that guy that they want to confide in, that they want to talk to, or they want to like really vent to, and then see what comes back, because Raf has been in that position.
Right,
And like he's empathetic at a different level.
Right, exactly. And you know, that's like a major life lesson to be learned, is like, for me, it was that to be a better leader, I need to come to where other people are.
Wow.
Like I can't lead from the front.
No.
I gotta lead from the back and the middle and the front.
And the front.
We gotta be everywhere. You know? Like fucking snakes.
And make yourself that's awesome. But that's a great visual in terms of making yourself accessible to folks that are around you that are at the end of the day doing the hard work.
Right.
Which is like those that legwork.
It's tough.
Editing is
it's all takes so much time. All of it.
It really does.
Video takes so much time, and marketing takes so much time. Like put a mix master takes so much time.
A lot, yeah.
Getting a hit single takes a long time.
Yeah. You know, strangely enough, though, I think the creative process itself, if you are a creative, and I think if you've done it for a sustained amount of time, I think you've learned your talent, you've figured out how you're gonna be, then I think the creative part is very short.
Right.
I think the actual, because like when a producer finds a composition that works for them, or like they figure out a melody, like that wasn't necessarily like them tapping on a key, you know what I mean, for like hours on end or something like that, and then it just suddenly came. Like, no, they probably went about life, you know, and then they sat down, and then like these, I don't know if just real is a sidebar, but like it was watching John Mayer. He was on a live with Zane Lowe, and he just brought the guitar out and he started, you know, started playing it, and it was sounding great, and he freestyled on the spot like a song.
Right.
Like, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna look at the corner now. Staring at the corner my whole life. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, it was coming so quickly to him.
Right.
But like the stuff that happens after that, I think 90% of people don't know about. They don't understand that like there's folks that take that, capture that 10 minutes, 20 minutes of greatness, and then they have to create like a whole campaign around it.
There's so much
that hundreds of people are gonna eat off of. Like that whole equation. That's hard to like really translate unless you do everything.
And I always prided myself in not being the suit. You know, like I always met all these suits, and it was always like, bro, these guys don't even know what it takes to do all this. Like they'll be like, oh. They'll set like really strange expectations of creatives, you know.
That's weird.
Even like strange expectation, for example, for a suit would be get them to really finish the album. Let's just say, simple example, finish the album. Should be a simple
That's a simple sentence.
Simple sentence for a suit. You know,
Yeah.
why are they not finishing it? Finish it. For the artist, he may not be at that place. You know,
Sure.
he may be. He's working on it, but there's still, he knows there's something missing, or like, I need something more, or like he's, you know, maybe it's not possible to finish it in 5 hours. Maybe to that artist, he needs a little bit of more time, maybe till next week.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he needs to breathe for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then lay the vocals,
For
you know?
sure, for
that
sure.
happens. And I would rather be the guy who understands that and goes back to the suit and says, listen, you know, you gotta give us some time to breathe. Yeah.
It's gonna be worth it.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Instead of being the suit who's like, come on, bro. You know, what do you mean a week? We don't have a fucking week.
Yeah.
Do it now. You know?
Right.
We're, you know, that's the thing. Like that's
really
I think that's the
appreciated.
difference, because some people think artists and creatives are a switch, a button, like everything else in their lives.
No,
you know?
yeah.
But it's not.
It's not
you know?
like that. No.
Yeah.
You're right. That's very what is it? Like, that's a lot of consciousness that you have
Right.
about the creative process.
Yeah.
And that you do leave yourself, you know, that possibility that this may not be the time. And that's really important for people who are outside of that like are the ones signing the check, so they feel like if they're throwing money at something, like it should get done.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's sure, it can get done, but then you're not going to sell, or it's not going to be received the way, or you're not going to get the enthusiasm from the artist, because like he or she did not think this was it, you know, and was rushed kind of towards it. So wow, that really does come from wearing all the hats, man. Like, that doesn't come from hearing about the experience. That comes from putting yourself square in the middle and being charged with completing an album. So like when there's like discourse about, oh, why can't you put the album in, or why is it taking so long, why are you postponing it? It's just like, man, like that's such a wide range of reason as to why a creative piece of work didn't come out. Like, you can't be answering it simplistically. Right. But then I guess, that's why there's a business side, you know, and like, so there's a middle ground.
There is. Yeah. You want to have artists and creatives on a routine, on a basis where they come and do the work, where they get to be in flow state at the highest amount of time that they can be. Yeah. And then allowing it to happen, instead of like forcing that album or something.
Micromanaging.
You just, instead of micromanaging or anything, you kind of have to let them breathe and have that routine of repeatedly showing up. Repeatedly showing up doesn't mean they're going to be lazy and watching TV at home. No. You know, it doesn't mean that, but it just means that routinely showing up and getting to it, you know? Yeah. And then that's where you trust the process. And
that like being patient, being persistent, all that stuff comes into play.
You have to be hardworking. You have to be persistent.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we let them go just like, all right, just be lazy now.
Not twiddling their thumbs, right? Yeah.
That's not it.
There is work.
That other balance. Yeah, that makes sense. During that period with Desi Hip Hop, I got to learn so many things, putting on so many hats, you know, and then like while putting on all these hats, on the other side where I was working a tech job, I realized like, man, you know, this is obviously not for me, right? Like I knew that already, right? I knew that when I was starting the tech job, that this is not for me. Yeah. But you know, I needed the finances. Of course. It's gonna keep everything else running, you know. So I had to.
Of course.
But I was like, man, you know, I was feeling allergic to feeling like an employee mindset. You know, my 9 to 5 was surrounded by employee mindset, you know, and I didn't quite enjoy the daily drivel and the you know, everybody, like, I clearly remember this one guy, he was like, bro, you know, he knew I was entrepreneurial, so he would always be like, bro, think of that. Did you think of the $1 million idea yet? Did you think of the $1 million idea yet? Let's make it the $1 million idea. Yeah. And then we'll run away from this, you know?
Disgusting.
This is just a dream to him. Like, and to me, it's like a real thing. No, I am thinking about the $1 million idea, bro. Yeah. You know, like, this is not a joke to me. But to him, it was just like something you say, you know, on a fucking Monday.
In your, in your office, right? Like, this is passing. I hate that shit.
It's like, bro, you know, like, shut the fuck up. But like, you can't do that, you know? So anyways, what I did do, it gave me that, like, it felt weird. So I was telling you that I started the other, you know, tech company, which was the staffing agency. Yeah. I did that just to like escape that, you know, just to escape the employee mindset. I was like, I don't want to be the employee anymore. That way I can be a boss and actually have people, you know, I still have to be in tech to pay for shit, I guess.
Right.
So might as well hire people and get them to do the job, and we'll be better off, you know?
Right.
And so like during this period, man, I think I learned everything about leadership during this time. Like
the staffing.
Yeah, doing the staffing and Desi hip hop, because over there I was learning different aspects of life. Here I'm learning different aspects, you know? And through all this, like there's so many lessons learned, because like, you know, you fall down so much, you know, like you're falling so much because like so many balls are in the air, you know, like you got a personal life, you got a business, you got a, you know, in the tech thing, you got a music thing, you know, business going on, and then you have your own personal stuff that you're working through, you know, and all this stuff is going on, and
at the same time,
and some of these balls are dropping, you know, and I think like, you know, prior to this, when I was in Kansas City, you know, threw myself into the startup culture without even knowing what this means. I just knew that I had to do something in a business.
Got to get something shaking.
Yeah, these are the people who are, you know, business people. Like, let's go find some business people.
Right.
Through that process, I realized that like a lot of these people who are in the startup scene were different than me in so many ways. Like, some of the businesses that are actually working, like those business owners, those like CEOs, way different than me, you know, like how do I become like how do I learn from them, you know?
Right.
These were times where I first started to like think that I gotta wake up at 4, I gotta wake up at 5, because if I don't, like these people are like
they're already
more educated, they have staff working for them, they have all this shit that's working for them, you know, but the only advantage I have is time. You know, maybe I could just put in a little more time in my day. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's really why I first started waking up like super early, like 5 a.m., 4:30, just to like, hey, I gotta, you know, these guys, some of the guys I used to meet was like magna cum laudes and whatever, like from Harvard. Like, what are you doing in Kansas City? Well, I got a business that works. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a
fuck.
You're really starting with a level of disadvantage.
Yeah,
some folks
I felt
that
like, and my startup was like having a struggle during that period to get out. You know, when I was in Kansas City, you know, this was before things were working. You know, and I was just like, fuck. You know, that's why I gotta wake up early. You know, it's like those kind of lessons have served me forever. You know, like till today, I'm waking up super early because I was in the Midwest, and it was like 5 a.m. in the Midwest is over here like 3 a.m. You know, I didn't want to wake up at 3, but for me, still waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. isn't that bad compared to because of the time zone change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'm in the West Coast, might as well just wake up super early, and I'm glad. You know, see, that's like an example of a lesson that lasted from back then. You know, that I learned. Today it's still serving me, because now by waking up early, now I have a son. Back then I didn't have a son. Now I have a son. Son wakes up around 6 every day. I don't know why so early. I don't get it. Every day, 6.
Sleep, damn it.
Yeah, 6 or 6:30 every day. So like if I don't carve out some time for myself, you know, there's no time. The whole day is gonna be.
You're right. Is around is around your boy. Yeah. And you're right. You do have to have like that moment, I think, not moment, but like time in the morning that has clarity to it, that isn't like go,
right,
and you're doing things with a sort of ease, because the rest of the day is going to be go,
right,
and you're not trying to burn that out like just on the onset of you waking up,
right.
So
yes,
that's huge.
That's true. Yeah, and
so that's one of those lessons you would say you learned that you know reverberates till now,
right,
in terms of like how you live your life and how you choose to attack each day.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And dude, you know, lessons learned, like another lesson, let's say what are we at, lesson number 3? Is it lesson 3? I don't know what it is, but I think it might be 3. Lesson number 3 learned in the past fucking decade is that I got sick and tired of relying on other entities for my well-being and my finances. Like, I know that I'm responsible for my, you know, life and well-being, but like I got kind of sick of like having that attached to like a job. Like they could let you go, Yeah, in the tech world, it is that they let you go. They take you so fast. Like you were saying, the contracting thing, dude. Like I spend all my time in contracting, you know, like, and it was like it is basically that you're just you're dispensable. They just get rid of you.
100%.
But I learned through all this, like, you know, I'm not dispensable. You know, to me, I'm a unique person. To me, at least, I have more than what I am in right now. Like I know there's more to the story. Right. I know we're just a chapter, like the beginning chapters, you know, and there's a middle and there's a 100%, you know, but they don't treat you like that. You know, that's a lesson I learned. Like if I want to be treated like that, and I do, I got to take that in my hand. I got to force it. Louder. Otherwise it will never happen.
You know, you got to say that louder, man. Because a lot of people don't get that part. Right. They feel entitled to other folks helping or propping them up. Yes. And you can't have it both ways like that. If you're going to rely on a corporation or another job to pay your bills and to pay your lifestyle and for the long term, then like, you have to forego certain things that make you, I guess, different or make you a maverick or try to like, that might disrupt the flow that they have that is better for their bottom line. Right. And again, everybody's different, you know, and like sometimes like sometimes I do think about if I was a different person, like even if I learned math, like why would I would happily sit down probably, you know, and just be at my cubicle making whatever money I made and never getting in front of people ever again. So
it's a tough thing, man, and like it goes both ways, you know.
It does.
Obviously, like you know, it makes sense that you know you need that job and whatnot, and then at the same time, like, you know, a similar situation is our deal with Sony. You know, many years after, you know, many years of distributing music, later led to working with Sony. Yeah. Sony signed a part of us. We built an imprint together, and you know, Sony invested some into Desi Hip Hop, and we built this imprint, and we started working with them. And this happened, you know, after many years of working with the Orchard, who became a Sony company. Yeah. So, you know, I personally worked with Sony for many years, and then eventually I became an A&R at Sony. And then I found myself in a position where, wow, I'm back to square one in relying on others for my fucking life and well-being. Damn. I was like, wow, all these years, you know, you dream of like large label. Oh, I want to get signed with Sony. And if you're a rapper, like, or an artist, if you're an artist, you're like, I want to get signed with Sony. And if you're a producer, you're, I want to get a publishing deal. Right. And this is great. And then like for me, you know, similarly on the business side of music, it was similarly, I want to do a business deal with Sony. We want to, you know, create a JV, a joint venture that we're doing. And, you know, when we first started talking to Sony, we're building a JV together, a joint venture with fucking Sony. Yeah. And I was like, dude, these are the fucking words I've been trying to listen to, like hair in my ear, you know, the magic to my ears. Yeah. Little did I know when I went to that position, it was like, wait, now I'm again relying on an outside entity that is like way bigger than me. Huge corporation that don't give a fuck about any of these artists that they're working with, and they hate their own employees, and the employees, you know, go through the same drivel.
It's a bunch of self-hate going around.
It's the same thing, and I'm an A&R here, which looks great on the business card, but fuck, you know, like we're again tangled at something that is no power.
Wow.
No real power. Like power, but like that's not. I'm not chasing power, so I don't give a fuck about that. You know, and like really being next to people who are chasing power. I
feel like we did take a sharp left with COVID.
Right.
And it's not something anyone could have helped.
Yeah.
But I felt like, I think what you're talking about, you know, a lot of the sustaining the bullshit at work, you know, at the office, you know, even though you're an A&R, you're having to deal with the dirty politics of all of this.
Lots of things going on, you know.
I think personally, if COVID didn't happen and we got to execute some of these shows or something, it would have made it a little bit more worth it. For sure. You know, like for yourself. Like
it was definitely worth it. It was one of the best experiences in my life, you know.
Sure.
At Sony, being an A&R and doing the thing, it was like amazing. And I don't dislike it at all. And I take a lot of beautiful lessons from that.
Sure.
you know, when COVID happened, the music industry got a hit. I faced that in a way of like, I was like, I'm going to empower myself. I'm going to use this time to do what I like. And just, but, I actually, man, the thing is, around that time, when COVID happened, I also got to learn that my wife, we were pregnant.
Oh.
So I went into like an overdrive mode of working.
Yeah.
Like I became this crazy person and I was just working 24 hours a day. And, but that was really good because that's the time I, did this like podcast, like a different version of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Like during this run, and it was like,
right.
It got me an opportunity to try this like pilot of this idea. And I was like, I could talk online. But I haven't really, all this time, all these years, I was really good at talking to people one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And I was doing, online shows and stuff, but it was always like edited and cut.
Right.
Where I have the final cut, so I know how to like get the best out of me,
right,
that type of shit.
Right. That's awesome.
So it was challenging for me to be like, oh, I want to do something live online, For me, there was a little inkling of like, oh, this is live. I got to be better.
You got to be on point.
Yeah, I got to be on point.
Yeah.
But then, I got a chance to do that on a 25-week run.
That was dope.
And it was live. It was on YouTube. It was on social media. It was like perfect way for me to get out of my fucking bubble and see what I can really do.
Yeah, on your own.
Yeah. And I was on Instagram.
With your wife as well, right?
Yeah, my wife was the producer. It was great.
Producing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to do like Instagram Live and all these things. And quickly I realized that, this is like, I'm good at talking. I have the gift of gab.
Yeah.
I can do this. It's not so like I got to be on point and all this shit.
Sure.
Oh, there's no stress here. Oh, this is very comfortable.
Relax, man. No,
Holy shit. We can do like 100 of these.
You can ponder a little bit, think about stuff. And like that's, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you just give people a couple of seconds, they might drop some jewels, They might really say some things that inspire.
That's
dope.
That was dope, and really, bro, that through all these years, like, man, I didn't even talk about Banga Bangla, like
that's its own iceberg,
right? It's
there.
its own thing, like,
yeah.
But it's like all these years of like, me doing all these jobs. I knew I wanted to manage someone. I had what it takes. But when I heard Banga Bangla, I knew like they were really talented and never heard anybody else like them. So I started to manage them, blah blah blah. But like working on all this stuff, like their content, Banga Bangla's content, Desi Hip Hop's content, all the stuff, other things that I was doing around content and social media, gave me that idea that like, I got an idea of the trends, and me being in podcasts like from way early, I entered the podcast world before it was the podcast world.
Sure.
And then I left it because I had, lots of things going on. But in the middle, I always came to podcasting. Some trials, I did some trials on podcasting.
That's beautiful, yeah.
And I saw the trends and I see the world where it's heading. And it's like, there aren't enough podcasters for the amount of listeners for podcasters right now, today. And the way YouTube is investing in podcasts and the way Spotify has been investing in podcasts for the past, like, for a while. Like, it's been more than 5 years. Yeah, that Spotify has been going hard on it. You know, these were the ideas that I was in the ears of Sony CEOs with. Like, don't just think music, think podcast, think all bigger, audio, think shows. Like, why are we not doing like large shows, like YouTube shows? Like
the like the music should be a part of
this. Like artists going and eating somewhere. Like that should be what we're thinking about. You know, all these things like told me that podcast is the way, and podcast is a great way for me to like use all my skills in one place and somewhere where I can produce content, put it out there, and it'll compound over years. Like it'll grow over the years. It'll just compound. It's a compounding machine.
Exactly.
It's not just like a Facebook post.
Not that one release. It's not that one day.
No,
the legwork starts after these things come out.
Right.
And that's just a whole new way now of like when putting new stuff out. That's awesome, bro. Yep. Like you've been on it early.
Right. Right. And I think we got something here.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I really feel like podcasting and doing what we're doing now is like, I was built for this. I feel like all these experiences were for this. I don't know. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, all these years, I've been into many situations where it was like, oh, it feels like all those experiences will now lead to this. You know, like even with Sony, you know, like it was like, oh, all those years of, you know, working with Sony, artists, you know, now we're working with artists at Sony.
Same way when I got that contract.
Yeah.
100%.
And now again, I'm in that same position, feeling like all those experiences led to this instead. And I think that's what it is, because... And it'll always change.
Yes,
it'll be the next thing. It'll be the next thing.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's a journey. Obviously, all those things led to this. And then this will lead to the next. You know, it's always been that. One thing leading to the next. You know?
Right.
And I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful that we're doing this, you know. Cause,
that's a great life lesson, though, in that, like, things come in phases.
Yeah.
And that, like, you should... you know, try to immerse yourself as much as you can in these phases, because it's only going to inform the next one.
Yes. Facts. That's right. And, you know, everybody should remember that life is seasons. You know, there'll be winters, and winters are followed by spring. Spring is followed by summer, and summer is followed by fall.
And then goes back to winter.
It just goes, And so you'll have some great times, and then there'll be some bad times. And then during the bad times, you just got to remember the great times are right around the corner.
Yes,
like,
it's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
To not get stuck in like your present, but then also not think too far ahead.
No.
It's like there's this balance where like you do have to stay rooted right here where you are, but then don't just stay there while everything moves on around you. You have to know how to adapt, how to move, how to maybe switch up, pivot, and that's kind of what makes you and it makes you adaptable, and then also makes you very attractive to potential investors and to people who are going to further your career. That this guy does not stop. And like that's the point.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
The point is that like throughout everything, we came up through it. You know, we came up through these failures. You know, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's beautiful.
Like great experiences, honestly, and you know, like. Realizing that I was like now tethered to Sony at that time, it helped me later on think about I need, you know, our own brand that is not like related to, that is not tethered to somebody else's success,
100%,
like an entity or a job or a corporation or anything, you know, like or a partnership, like something that we grow from the ground up for our own selves. You know, that, you know, end of day, to me, that is my personal brand. That is, you know, us on this mic. You know, that's all this. Because I think creators are going to be the next, you know, billionaires. You know, they're the next, like, you know, in the past, there was the railway industry, you know, the oil industry, the electric industry, like different industries. And I think
tech
industry. The next one is the creator economy. And these are the oil companies now. Like freaking Mr. Beast, he's an oil company. You know, he's his own oil company. And just like him, like YouTubers and creators are making millions now. And this is like the freaking, like, we're in the Wild West, and this is the freaking like gold rush.
It is.
And it really is.
But from perspectives that are unique, that aren't out there just yet, in terms of our cultural background coupled with our experience, you know, coming up in this country. So that makes it unique and like something worth doing for sure. Now, I think personally for me, I don't think it's set on me yet what we're doing here. I know that I'm having fun.
That's perfect.
That's all that matters to me, and like that's the only thing that's ever moved me is because I have enjoyed doing something. And then I'm not gonna like put any sort of time limit on this the same way I don't put time limit on my music, because like you go through phases in life, and sometimes I'm inspired to do it, sometimes I'm not. This though is kind of impervious to being inspired or not. It's you living your life, and you get to document, you know, like really what it is, and that makes it so much more exciting to me. And I think the stuff that happens after around it is a plus and is awesome, but I think this was needed for me personally to like be able to get some of these ideas off, you know, that will sound mad corny on a beat. So yeah, like this is awesome. Much appreciated.
I love it. All
right, man. Well, then until next time.
Yes.
For new shit.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Another one in the bag.
Yeah.